Hello again! Today I'll be discussing a topic that I've not quite made an outright decision on yet. Academia versus industry. I've been lucky with my PhD programme to be on an industrial case PhD. This means I have to spend around 6 months of my PhD based at an industrial partner, and in return I get a little bit more money and some industrial experience, which is really cool. It's nice to see if the grass really is greener on the other side of the research fence. And I haven't really decided which way I go yet, and just before I dive on into today's topic, a brief intermission. Now that that's covered, so let's start with academia. What's the good? Freedom. Your PhD is your best chance to try weird research ideas and see if they stick. An academic environment is excellent for that. Supervisors are happy to let you try that crazy idea, as long as it's not going to take up too much time. And they're always on hand with their experience to make sure you don't waste any time. Hours. Talking about time, you're in charge of your own schedule, which is very nice. If you need to leave, say, an hour early one day, you can, as long as you make sure to put the work in on another day. It's a bit like unofficial flexi time, being in a research environment. You get to talk to lots of people doing cool and interesting things on an almost daily basis. Societies. While it's true that most societies are aimed at undergraduates, some do cater for older members and staff. It's a great way to get a new friendship group, especially if you have moved into a new city. And the bad? Hours. Wasn't that a plus, I hear you cry? Well, yes, but when you're running an experiment or you're near a deadline, you can end up with some crazy hours. For example, in my second year, I had some 16-hour days. Overall, though, flexibility probably still does win out. Funding. Sometimes your department might not have the funding for that piece of equipment or course you want to go on. Then you'll need to cobble something together or find a way to fund it yourself. Dealing with academics. There are some academics who are notoriously hard to contact. Others are always just jetting off all over the world. This is something you really just need to learn to deal with. The ugly. Publish or perish. That's a pretty intimidating sentence. There are good reasons for it existing. When you haven't got many publications, it is a bit scary. So how does industry compare? The good. Regular hours. There's something awfully nice about being able to get home from work and just switch off. It helps you plan your evenings with more certainty. Money! If your project already has approval, there tends to be a bit more money in industry, and they also tend to have the shiniest equipment. Though getting that approval can be more of a regimented process. The bad. Regular hours. See what I said earlier about flexibility? It's a little bit annoying not being able to leave a bit early if you've had that flexibility before. Less freedom. You have to stick to your agreed project limits, though I imagine if you're working in industry full-time you'll have a greater role in the decision-making process and more control over your project. Being in just one department, there seems to be less of a mingling of ideas in industry, though a lot of companies have now realised this is a problem, and they're actively trying to encourage networking between departments. The ugly. Job security. In case you hadn't noticed, it's a recession at the moment. This has affected a lot of businesses badly. You're likely to see a lot of people coming and going at the moment, and some departments aren't even sure if they'll be around in a few months' time. In conclusion, I've not made my mind up yet, though I'm probably still edging towards research. I think overall I'd rather have a lower salary in order to have more freedom and to have greater opportunity to pass my knowledge on to future generations. I will post a video if my views change. Next week, I'll be talking about exercise as a PhD student, motivation, finding the time, and why it's a good idea.
Your standard approximately 100-meter dash of destiny, once forwards and then backwards.